Let's get some prize picks in today, guys. Last night's picks went 1 and 4, and before we get into tonight's slate, I do want to go over some important concepts when it comes to winning on prize picks. I know last night's picks went 1 and 4, but just listen. So on Jaden McDaniels, we took his over 19.5 fantasy score, Anthony Edwards over 4.5 assists, RJ Barrett over 20.5 points, Scotty Barnes under 19.5 points, originally what I wanted. We ended up going for Scotty Barnes under 32.5 PRA. If you notice something about all those props, they all got bumped. So this was 30 minutes before game time in Toronto. So on Jaden McDaniels, we got a whole fantasy score point. On Anthony Edwards, we got half an assist. RJ, you get the point. We got half points or full points on every single one of these guys. And what does that exactly mean? It means we captured value. So PrizePicks likes to bump lines if there is too good value on these. So Anthony Edwards was a main one. Everyone was on Anthony Edwards over 4.5 assists. He got bumped to 5 assists. Now last night he got exactly 5 assists, which means everyone who got him at 4.5 early, which captured the value on him, did cash on Anthony Edwards. At 5 assists, they all pushed. So if you had him in a 6-man and every single slip hit except Anthony Edwards, if you got him at 5 assists, you would have only got a 10x. If you got him at 4.5 assists, you would have got him at a 25x. Last night was even a perfect example of how much these half points count. So when we're capturing this value, everything is not going to hit in the same night. Just because you capture value in a pick does not mean it's going to hit. It is possible for good picks to miss and for bad picks to hit. And I just showed you last night we captured value on every single one of these props, yet only 1 out of 4 hit. So why does that happen? It's a small sample size. Over 4 picks over one night, you're not going to be hitting these picks. But in the long run, if you're capturing these values, like if you're getting Anthony Edwards at 4.5 assists every single night and he gets bumped to 5 assists every single night, you're going to see that over the long run, you're going to be hitting that Anthony Edwards over 4.5 assists way more often than the under would hit, because you're capturing nice value on that. So when we're playing on these sites, we kind of want to steer away from the 50-50 props and go for something that hits more in our favor, about 55%-ish. All those props last night were around those 55% hit rate mark, which means there's still a 45% probability that they lose, which is exactly what happened last night. So I can show you a very simple in NFL of taking a good pick versus a bad pick. So let's say Lamar Jackson, the best pick to be taking with Lamar Jackson is one of his receivers. You could take Zay Flowers, you could take Odell, whatever it may be. You want to be taking over on both of those. Those are the correct good pick because these guys are correlated. If Lamar Jackson's getting over his passing yards, Zay Flowers is also getting over his receiving yards, more likely, more often than not, right? And you notice a good pick, and it's true because PrizePicks actually penalizes you for taking these guys together because they know how good of a pick this is. Does that mean that this is necessarily going to hit? No, it just means it's more likely to hit, which is why PrizePicks taking that 3x payout down to a 2.75. Now, this would be a terrible pick, right? Lamar Jackson over passing yards, Zay Flowers under receiving yards. It makes absolutely no sense to do this if you're taking a QBs over, you want to take the wide receivers over. But does that mean this won't hit? No. It's possible for Lamar Jackson to go over his passing yards and maybe just threw all those passing yards to Odell Beckham and every other receiver except Zay Flowers. We all saw it in the Green Bay game. Last time Jordan Love went way over his passing yards and Jaden Reed didn't even get one reception. They all went to Romeo Doubs. Things like that do happen. We're not looking at things that do happen. We're looking at things that happen more often than not. So what happens more often than not is that these two guys will hit in the same direction. So on last night's picks, PrizePicks indirectly altered the payouts without you really noticing, right? Bumping these lines basically altering the payouts because the payout is too good at that 4.5 on Anthony Edwards, so they have to bump it to 5. Now, they're not going to directly bump it in the actual power play line or whatever it may be, the actual payout here, but it's indirect in the way that now it's harder for those props to actually hit at 4.5 assists compared to 5 assists. And again, we saw it last night and we see it on very many nights where people get off by half a point, maybe 1 point. Every half point matters. So I'm taking over on KCP here on 9.5 points and he gets bumped to 10 points. I know I made a great bet. But again, that does not mean it'll hit. It just means it was a great pick and it's likely to do well in the long run if I'm continuously getting picks that are getting bumped. I had to re-record this video because I had the LaMelo Ball on the over 40.5 PRA. That's what I was getting into on my explanation. And he got bumped as I was recording to 41.5 points rebounds assists. So I'm finding these lines for you guys that have some sort of value into them. And PRA on LaMelo Ball was one of them. But of course, at 41.5, it's no longer good. Anyways, I'm not going to get to the whole explanation of why I like this pick. But at 41.5, it's a massive difference. And I can even show you guys very quickly on LaMelo Ball's 41.5 PRA. So he has only hit this 44% of the time this season. You could see just bumping it up by 1 PRA gets you a 50% hit rate. Yes, it's only an extra 1 game, but he's only played 18 games this season. If you had him in an entry at 40.5 that one day that he got the 41 exactly, then you would have cashed. If you had him at 41.5, it was actually last game, funnily enough. So if you had him at 41.5, this would not have cashed. That is a bad example because he's only played 18 games, but some players who have like 35 games, you're going to see the discrepancy is way bigger on these half points. Anyways, that being said, these were all actually good picks, as you can see by the bumps, and most of the picks I do put in the videos do get bumped because they are good picks. Does not mean they will necessarily hit, but in the long run, they do. So all those picks from last night were good picks. They just didn't pan out in the way that we needed them to. I just do my best prediction of getting what's the best direction, more or less, and then that's up to the players if they want to actually hit or not. We're trying to best predict what's going to happen once the game starts. It's out of our control. So that was one pick I was looking at. Anyways, I'm not going to go over that one, but there's actually only one pick for tonight's video. It's going to be on Austin Reeves over 18.5 points plus rebounds. I almost wasn't going to make a video, but I'm really liking this pick because I do think it's a sleeper pick, and I do think there's very good potential if LeBron is out. We'll get into that in a bit right here. So on Austin Reeves, over 18.5 PR, he has hit this 57% of the time this season. They are up against Brooklyn, who are 17 points allowed and 22nd in rebounds allowed. So pretty good to see for our points plus rebounds prop. Now the spread is at -7 tonight with the Lakers at home. Pretty decent spread. I'm not expecting too much of a blowout. The total is pretty low at 227 here, so that's not great for points. As for the juice here, 3 sportsbooks have him juiced towards the over 18.5 at -130. Two sportsbooks already have him set at 19.5. So that's a good indication, again, that this is going to get bumped. And it's also a good indication that this is too good of a play on Prizepicks. It's probably going to get bumped to 19 points plus rebounds. I'm telling you this now because when you see this later, he probably will be bumped to 19. Which means we're capturing this value at 18.5. So again, good splits, 19.3 average over the season. At home, it's slightly better here at 20.1, 59% of times he has hit this. But honestly, what I care most about this prop and why I'm liking it as a sleeper pick is if LeBron is out tonight. I know these guys are always game time decision, Davis and LeBron, but LeBron actually has missed a game recently versus the Jazz. That was last Saturday. Tonight, he actually is questionable again. Even Underdog says James is questionable, but he does play through the injury usually, right? He has played it, but on Saturday, he was out, listed questionable, then ended up playing, questionable, then ended up playing, questionable. Will he end up playing tonight? Who knows? But if LeBron does decide to rest tonight, that is going to massively help Austin Reeves' PR here. Check the games without LeBron James, and he's cleared his 22, 28, 23, and 19. Now, if you notice here in the San Antonio game and in the Jazz game, his lines were actually set very high here, even in this Minnesota game, right? Maybe because LeBron was already listed as out. Obviously, they're going to have to bump up Austin Reeves' props because Reeves is going to have to get more minutes and more usage. But as of right now, Reeves is still set low at that 18.5, kind of expecting that LeBron plays. So, and even if LeBron does play, which he probably will, there's still, a couple indicators telling us that the over 18.5 PR is still a good prop. So that's going to be the one pick for today. I don't really have much else. And funnily enough, the example I was using, KCP, I said if his 9.5 gets bumped to 10, it was probably good at 9.5. I didn't look into KCP at all, so I don't know. But just quick search on props.cash here. Over 9.5 is like slightly juiced towards the over. I don't know if it really warrants a bump to 10. So not every time that a prop gets bumped means it's very good value, but most of the time, right? This KCP one probably got bumped because there's a lot of money coming in to the over. Because you see all these popular picks are basically the ones that everyone on Prizepicks is on, and they're probably all jamming this over because he's hitting the past 5. So maybe Prizepicks want to kind of reduce their exposure to the over by bumping his line up a bit. But generally, if there is bumps, it does mean you got the direction right. So if I took the over on the over 9.5, I did get the direction right. And sportsbooks do have his juice towards the over. So the over at 9.5 was definitely better than the under. Was it a good enough pick to be positive expected value? Probably not. But that's just in general how these things work. So this is the one pick for tonight. Let's see how it does.